All right. Evening, everyone. Bill Gallagher of Thraben University fame here. And hey, wouldn't you know it? W&6 is gone and we don't have to deal with it anymore. I'm so happy. I can play reasonable decks that lose to Wasteland again. Yes, oh, happy day indeed. So a lot of the decks that I've wanted to play have really been constrained by the power of Wrenn and 6 just recurring Wasteland, or Wrenn&6 pinging, or Wrenn&6 drowning me in cards, and the BNR announcement really made it clear how good the Rug Delver with Wrenn&6 was. The fact that it had a positive matchup against the next top 10 best decks in Legacy is absolutely terrifying. So good riddance. I won't miss you. If you're a D&T player, get those moms out, get those flicker wisps out. It's happy days again. Today we're going to be playing something that I think will be a lot of fun. So Max Dorshan and I had a lot of very similar thoughts about deck choices moving forward. So the two of us sat down and had a talk earlier today via Facebook, and we tried to figure out what does a nice once upon a time Chalice deck look like right now. And this is what we came up with. So you are seeing sort of a Blood Sun Eldrazi, and we have some varied threats. We can go wide with Rabblemaster, we can go big with Tarmogoyf, we can get disruptive with Thought-Knot Seer, or be annoying and hasty with Reality Smasher. To back this up, we have a little bit of removal in the Punishing Fire and Grove engine, as well as Bone Crusher Giant. And to sort of round things out, we have two different hate pieces, Chalice of the Void and Blood Sun. The main deck is relatively similar to things you've probably seen in 5.0 deck list dumps and Legacy challenges. The sideboard, I think, is pretty hot. So we have a decent amount of artifact interaction, expecting that decks like Death and Taxes will come back. We have our combo hate in Thorn, our generic blue hate in Choke, and all hail Wizards, death to Wrenn&6. Yeah, sounds about right. And a really sweet card in the form of Clip Wings that you probably haven't seen before. So each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. This is an instant that can answer everything from Delver to Merit-Lage to Grizzlebrand to Emrakul, and just patches up some weak points in the deck. Really excited to give this list a go. I think the mana in it is going to be much better than it looks. We do get a Tri-Land. This is a colorless red and green deck, because we're really effectively a 3-color deck here, so that's very strong. We also have Carplusian Forest as another Tri-Land, and then a handful of things. Note we only have one basic, and that's kind of for Path to Exile value as much as anything else. Let's just jump right into it tonight. Let's get into some games. I'm super excited to be playing Legacy. Legacy League with Green-Red Eldrazi. Yes, let's go. Also, I can now confirm that the Legacy Premier League will be using the new format for the matches on Wednesday. So I'm super, super stoked about that. That means I can play something, well, I have my deck list made already. Let's put it that way. Some things that might have been unreasonable previously are much more reasonable now. So I think this hand is going to be a keep. This hand produces a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer through Daze via Lotus Petal, and then can play Blood Sun or Rabblemaster as backup. It's slightly awkward that one of these isn't an Ancient Tomb or City of Traders, because then we could Blood Sun on turn 1. But overall, turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer into Goblin Rabblemaster is still probably good enough. I'm going to keep this hand. The deck doesn't necessarily have perfect mana. We have some Tri-Lands, which is really sweet. but that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, we're going to be able to, like, curve Tarmogoyf into Rabblemaster into Thought-Knot-Seer every game or something like that. There are also worlds where I will just play a Blood Sun next turn. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I think it's correct to not throw Lotus Petal out on turn 1. But there are worlds where it, like, gets pierced on a later turn. Alright, we're probably going to see something like an Emery deck here. So given that we are probably playing against an Emery deck or some sort of, like, blue Chalice deck, I will also probably Chalice on 0 this turn, in addition to playing Thought-Knot-Seer. Blood Sun probably doesn't have much text, and might actually be bad for me if my opponent is playing, like, their own City of Traders. So in case my opponent is playing the Daze version, we're going to go ahead and play Lotus Petal out now. Mono Green Stompy will probably be just as good as it was before, if not better. Alright, so it looks like my opponent is playing sort of more of a blue-black Tesserator style of list. And we only get to take one of these. The Baleful Strix means that my Thought-Knot-Seer can't bash into the things that we have on the other side of the table. But it's actually not a card I'm particularly scared of. I do think I'm going to take the Baleful Strix because I'll follow up with, like, a Goblin Rabblemaster next turn. And just be able to pressure the Planeswalkers relatively well. The issue with doing this is that my opponent can just, like, play a Karn and get a bridge out of their sideboard. And I can't really beat Ensnaring Bridge all that well without Punishing Fire combo. But I guess my opponent needs a Chalice at 2 to stop that. Alright. Yeah, let's plan on crashing in. And I will go ahead and deploy this Chalice on 0. My opponent doesn't have any more 0-cost artifacts now, but I should probably assume that they are in the deck. Blood Sun not particularly having a large amount of text right now. Ah, yet another Blood Sun. Sweet. That's okay. Like, we're going to get redraws out of that later on any turn where we don't necessarily have something that we can effectively do with our mana. Yeah, Dr. Bill, I think that deck is so much fun. Do you have Mist Cutter Hydras? That's something that I was thinking about putting into the deck that I didn't get around to actually putting in the deck. That might be something you consider. But I think the Once Upon a Times in a Chalice shell lets you do some disgusting things. You're not supposed to have, like, card selection when you're the Chalice deck. That's usually what you give up. So nice. The German versions you had for Enchantress, wonderful. Okay, so what happens if I attack in with everything here? So the Rabblemaster will have at least 4 power. It can trade with the Construct. Oh, Shifting Ceratops is an insane Magic card. So I'm going to have 2 Goblins. My Rabblemaster will go up to 4 power. It can trade with the Construct. My opponent isn't going to get extra constructs at instant speed. So I think we're just going to go ahead and ship on in. My opponent trades for the Thought Knot and draws a card. Like, so be it. We have an absurd amount of pressure coming in. We're not going to kill our opponent this turn, but we are representing lethal. This is 15 damage, so my opponent will be obligated to block at least one thing, probably multiple things. I think you trade the Construct for the Thought Knots here, try to get a redraw out of it. Unsure. The Goblin Rabblemaster also presents a problem, though, if you're going to like try to win this game via Ensnaring Bridge, because anytime you have a single card left in hand, the Goblin tokens are going to swing through for lethal. They would need an LED to play Karn plus Bridge in this turn cycle, though, and they can't LED because of my Chalice. So I think I have this one locked up. Yeah, so in this new post-Wrenn and 6 world, there's a couple of things I'm going to be looking to explore. Thing number one is non-traditional Chalice decks, like this one. And thing number two is decks that were previously held back by the threat of Wasteland recursion. So Humans, for example, comes to mind, where that deck was insanely powerful anytime you weren't getting Wastelanded out, but just, like, basically couldn't beat a Wrenn and 6 that came out from your opponent before you were established. Alright, so it looks like the opponent has come to the same decision that I did, that their way to win this game has to involve, like, taking the Goblin Rabblemaster off the board. Again, I don't exactly know how they would get to a bridge. Maybe they have some in the main deck that they could naturally draw towards. And it's not just in the sideboard. Bob? Yeah, Dark Confidant is probably pretty strong in this metagame. Like, you saw Bob slipping out of a lot of decks. Like, 4-color Loam usually played Bob as a 4-of, and it slipped down to a 2-of in the Wrenn and 6 metagame. Yeah, I think Loam got pretty warped by Wrenn and 6, considering that, like, it went from, like, I'll try a Wrenn and 6 to I'm taking Loam out of the deck because Wrenn and 6 is just better. Yeah, I was super sad to see see Bob go the way of the dodo, along with, like, Mother of Runes and Young Pyromancer and a lot of other, like, really neat cards. Like, for months, you basically didn't see a Baleful Strix resolve, right? And now it's our first round here, and we're seeing Strix. Please, opponent, I beg you. I have plenty to talk about, but, like, I'd like to be talking about this game of Magic. Yeah. So, like, you're not going to see Giver of Runes very commonly in Death and Taxes anymore. You're going to see fewer Charming Princes and more decks running, like, the stock 4 Flicker Wisps again. I thought that was me. I thought I said that. Julian might have said it, too. Oh yeah, Thalia is for sure back on the menu. I haven't gotten to play, like, nearly as much as I would like with my beloved Thalia. Alright, so my opponent has gone to 5, taken my Rabblemaster off the board. Oh man, I haven't played any Tin Fins in a while. That deck is so fun. Yeah, there's a lot of retweeting today as people are like coming up with new ideas. All right, so we are playing against a deck where No Rod is probably going to be sick. Let's start with that. Choke is medium. Probably not going to play it. Force of Vigor is going to be great. Fiery Confluence is going to be great. So we're probably just going to be boarding in these 5 cards. Yeah, the old ideas are back, right? Like, so things like Bug Delver, Bug Control are going to be back on the miracle on the menu. People are going to be trying miracles again. Like, a lot of decks that were just worse than Wrenn and 6 decks are probably coming in. So Bone Crusher Giant can get Baleful Strix out of the way, which is potentially important. I have medium thoughts on Chalice of the Void. I think I'm going to end up boarding that out. While my opponent is going to have a decent number of 0-drop artifacts, a lot of their stuff in a Tezzeret heavy build ends up being at 2, and I just don't know that that's where I'm going to want to be in terms of tapping out for stuff. Blood Sun is also very weak. So Blood Sun essentially helps to stabilize my own mana. But I don't love it. It's possible that I should board in Thorn of Amethyst to help fight against some of this stuff. But I think that's bad when I'm on the draw, and I'm also boarding in 5 non-creature spells. Maybe I'll consider that on the play if we go to a game 3. These Blood Suns are bad. Chalice is not great. Thorn is not great on the draw. Does that mean I just play Choke, even though it might only get 1 or 2 lands out of them? Is that better or worse than Blood Sun effectively just cycling to keep my City of Traders around? Probably about the same. I think I begrudgingly either play Choke or Blood Sun here. I will keep 1 Blood Sun in the deck. We're a touch light for this matchup, but that's okay. Well, as you saw, we drew double Blood Sun that game. Why, yes. I will keep this hand with 3 Reality Smashers. Hey, hey, welcome. I am going to, once upon a time in my opponent's upkeep, every once in a while you'll see one of these Tezzerator decks go and play something like Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm out of the board or something like that, or even the Oddball Days or something. I'd much rather just lock up my next land drop here. Well, that does lock up my next land drop. It's not the land drop that I wanted, but it's the land drop that I'm getting. This will give me a 1, 2, 3 curve, and if we go and draw a red-based threat or something like that, we can play it out. Actually, that's a very ideal land for us. I think we're just going to lead on Snow-Covered Mountain. No. In case I draw Thought-Knots here, I'm going to lead on Eldrazi Temple. Oh yeah, that was not a I need to arrange the board sort of thing. It was just an observation. We're light for this matchup. All right, we have an answer to that in play. So this kind of like works against the Ensnaring Bridge, but like whatever. We're going to kill the Ensnaring Bridge and my opponent in the same turn. That's just gonna happen. Hopefully we take one of our opponent's only pieces of gas here. Oof! Opponent's hand is very good. Very, very good. Emery is the thing that doesn't do anything right now, but threatens to bring back the bridge. If I just deal all 18 to them in one turn, that doesn't matter, though. I think the Urza is actually the scariest card, because it's also mana ramp. And if they whiff off the if they whiff off the Emery, I don't care about it. But this is close. So that puts the Thought-Knot out of the range where it can actually attack. Sigh, not that big of a deal right now. We're going to have a lot of trample damage. We're also probably going to end up wiping the board of 1 toughness creatures when we go... Yeah. So there's Opal and Bauble here, so Sai can start doing some cute things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 mana this turn. 7 versus 6 doesn't matter. And we have the second red source now for our Fiery Confluence. So I guess the question becomes, do I just want to Fiery Confluence now? If I Fiery Confluence now, I could do 2 damage to each creature, destroy target artifact, crash in for 4, and then play Reality Smasher into Reality Smasher into Reality Smasher. This will keep them from getting additional chump blockers off of Sai. But if they were to top deck a bridge or another Emery, it would be super awkward. I think I'm okay with using the Fiery Confluence now. Like, my opponent is hellbent. I know it is going to destroy this. Emery is so much better than it looks. Okay. 2 damage to each creature. Destroy target artifact. Cast. Destroy target bridge. So note, my opponent doesn't have 2 mana here to go and sacrifice something with Sai, which is very lucky for me, because if they had the second mana, then they could like destroy the bridge, and I would have to have multiple targets on my Fiery Confluence, which is another reason to play the Fiery Confluence this turn. I was more okay with Deathrite Shaman than I was Renin 6. An Urza. A Karn. That's going to represent a second bridge, which is annoying. So my opponent just plussed the Karn. Okay. I'm definitely fine with that. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana next turn if I played this. if I played this. But I think it's just fine to like stop taking damage off my Ancient Tomb and put this City of Traders into play. I'm probably not going to need this for the rest of this game. We are representing 9 damage this turn, so we're not representing lethal. So we're going to go ahead and knock down this Karn, or kill the Karn. And then next turn, we should be representing lethal. Yeah, well, welcome. You're catching a stream at a great time. Legacy's in a wonderful, wonderful place right now. So excited to be brewing. This is a deck that Maxtortion and I came up with this afternoon. Feels pretty darn good so far. The Eldrazi side of the deck has done serious work in both of these games. So my opponent has sacrificed a Mox Opal, which I think they didn't tap. Or no, it's sacrificed 2 artifacts, not sacrificed 1 artifact. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 mana. Yeah, Orem, I can totally believe that. You didn't even let me play my Rabble Master. I still had all these. I wasn't done with hasty damage yet. Yeah, Orem, I think when people are still trying to figure out what they're doing, playing like a fast and consistent turn 1 deck, so like something like Black-Red Reanimator, or something where most of your damage is done on turn 1, and you effectively win the game, you know, like a Dredge deck or something, can be pretty good while people are still figuring their lives out. I'm not good at playing Dredge. That's a deck that I've tried multiple times. And I'm fine in game 1s. I think the game 2 and 3s are much harder. And I'm not aware enough of the exact graveyard hate that various decks are playing, because that's not something I ever have to pay attention to. So I feel like overall my win percentage with Dredge is like abysmal. Turn 1 Lattice Lock is impressive. So if we're playing against a fair deck, we have the Punishing Fire combo in hand. If we're playing against an unfair deck, we can potentially turn 2 Thoughtseize off a Spirit Guide or something. I think this is going to be a keep. Alright, so we're potentially playing against a combo deck, so we will want to try and cast this Thought-Knot Seer ASAP. We'll take our draw step and try to Once Upon a Time for a Spirit Guide, I think. Actually, do I need to do that yet? Is there literally any play I would want to make this turn that I can get off Once Upon a Time? I believe that the answer is no. So keeping that in mind, I should actually just play Eldrazi Temple and pass the turn. That way, if my opponent hits me with a Thoughtseize, I can keep either Once Upon a Time or Thought-Knots here. Yeah, so you can't kill a True Name Nemesis with Bone Crusher Giant, but you can use Bone Crusher Giant to indirectly kill True Name Nemesis. So, like, say True Name blocks something. Ooh, Wasteland. All right. That's fine. Like, we have plenty of land. But now that I know my opponent is playing a Wasteland deck, I should probably crack off this Once Upon a Time in response to that. This lets me play this around days. Yeah, we will just take another Eldrazi Temple all day here. Just because they rarely do doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It's kind of like how you should really think about your sequencing with things like Chrome Mox and Mox Diamond and Lotus Petal and stuff, because every once in a while one of those things is going to get dazed and catch you with your pants down. Nice. So this will just give us a turn to Thought-Knot Seer anyway, if we're willing to go and deploy that. Okay, so this does 2 damage, right? So annoyingly, this plays around both of the pieces of removal that I have currently. Alright, am I jamming Thought-Knot Seer into Daze this turn? Feel like the answer is probably yes. Most of my hand is very bad. If I trade for a Daze, I'm a little bit sad. If I trade for a Force of Will, I'm perfectly happy with that. But I feel like just sitting back and just like letting them ponder off this Arcanist is just bad for me. So let's see if you Daze my 4-drop. Yep, okay. I accept. We can get through this eventually via double punishing firing it. So, like, this isn't the end of the world. But we're definitely on the wrong end of the tempo spectrum right now. So this is totally fine. They do have a 2-mana Jace the Mind Sculptor. That's pretty decent. Stomp, right? Alright, Force and Brainstorm, that's fine. Spell Pierce is really annoying, seeing as I'm going to try to double Punishing Fire this to kill this. So we'll see what we can do about that. Our deck is super well equipped to beat Delver. This, though, less so. We can super awkwardly play around Punishing Fire on Insectile Aberration by playing out Ancient Tomb on my turn. Oh god. Alright. Alright. So can Punishing Fire this, take 6. Not double... Alright, I think we get Delvered. Feels like we get Delvered. Let's go to the next game. So let's figure out what I don't want. So I have plenty of things that I can... Not that. I have plenty of things that I can consider, but I think kind of the starting point needs to be what are we actually going to board out of our deck? It's probably not Blood Sun, because that's going to shut off their lands, as well as, like, let us keep our City of Traders, which aren't making us lose life. So I think that's good. I like the potentially large threats. Some things can line up awkwardly, like Thought-Knots here, for example, can line up awkwardly against a Gurmag Angler. But I don't know that that necessarily makes it bad. Punishing Fire, not just killing every threat, definitely matters. But Punishing Fire as a whole is probably going to be better than Clip Wings. I might just run something very close to what I did for game 1 back. And just board in some chokes. Punishing Fire isn't going to trim everything. Isn't going to kill everything. I could, like, trim one of those. Like, maybe trim one of those, and maybe, like, trim a Thought-Knot Seer or something like that, or alternatively trim a Once Upon a Time, since the tempo is not in my favor. I don't think you want to go Leyline levels of deep. The other thing I can do is just... The other thing I can do is trim Smasher, since it is a 5-mana card versus Delver, and they're going to be wastelanding us. Yeah, I think I like doing that. I could also just keep that last Punishing Fire. And trim another Reality Smasher. I don't hate that, but I'm going to try this. My opponent has disconnected. I will be keeping this hand, and hopefully my opponent reconnects soon. Unsure how I'm going to play this hand, but I'm going to lead on Ancient Tomb, I think. Okay, my opponent has mulliganed. They are back. So if I lead on Ancient Tomb, it gives me the possibility of Thought-Knot Seer on turn 2, and it also allows my opponent to wasteland the land that is going to hurt me over the course of this game. Yeah, the Rabble Master there was absolutely counterspell fodder, or like meant to get something like a Fatal Push out of their hand. Super happy with Lotus Petal as a draw, believe it or not. So I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can have 6 mana this turn, so I can Thought-Knot Seer and Bone Crusher Giant. That's pretty strong. I could also like Rabble Master and Bone Crusher Giant. But I think I like slamming the Thought-Knot Seer. So as long as we see there's not a daze or a force there. Opponent has good cards in their hand. So Plague Engineer will trade with one of our things. Gurmag Angler will gum up the board, but I'm hoping to have them dead before Gurmag Angler becomes relevant. So note, next turn we can cast this. We don't have a second red currently, so we can either Rabble Master or Bone Crusher Giant. Nice. So opponent may... What's Petty Theft again? Oh, it's just showing me both sides of that for some reason. Okay, sure. So do I just want to Bone Crusher Giant? Do I want to choke? Do I just want to Rabble Master? I think I want to attack with Thought-Knot Seer, see if they're going to Brazen Borrower, like, just bounce my Thought-Knot Seer. If they do, I'll choke them. If they don't, I'll probably just play Bone Crusher Giant and try to set up choke for the next turn. Although I might just slam choke anyway, since it's pretty likely to resolve. Interesting turn. Yeah, Delver feels fair again. I like choke here. It kind of just incentivizes my opponent to just, like, Brazen Borrower and just, like, bounce the choke back to hand, and that doesn't really get them anywhere. And I'll just get to make the same play next turn. Potentially better, though, because if I draw another colored source, I can, like, choke and Rabble Master in a single turn, which is very strong. Again, we don't necessarily have perfect mana. So this will probably just be my opponent casting a Gurmag Angler. And it'll kind of be our hope that, like, they're not left with, like, Force and blue card. Okay. So now I can cast one of these red cards. Don't know that it particularly matters which one I do. So I think I'm going to cast this one since my opponent knows about it. We are now going to try to race our opponent, I think. They may hold back defensively. If they hold back defensively, then this probably favors us, because I can continue to play more threats while they cannot. Let's dump our creature into play here. And then the turn where we just like brick and draw a land, then I'll go and play out the Once Upon a Time. Okay, and they're done with me. So I think we're gonna run back the same general strategy as we saw last time around. On the draw, I should consider the other Punishing Fire, just to decrease the number of times that I just get, like, whacked to death by Delver or Brazen Borrower. So I think we're going to go in on Punishing Fire, out another Reality Smasher. This hand is not amazing. It is a hand where I am probably supposed to just slow roll the Chalice. Like, play 2 lands naturally, play Chalice, and then go for a turn 3 Reality Smasher off a sequence like Snow-Covered Mountain into Eldrazi, Temple into City of Traders. We're a little light on gas, but we're heavy on land. I think this is a reluctant keep. I don't feel good about this hand. Like, I think it is borderline a mulligan. Like, I expect to lose keeping this hand, but I think the upsides of this hand are too high for me to just throw it back. Just draw spell, spell, spell. We're not doing very good at that so far, friend. By playing the Snow-Covered Mountain, I've made it so that I can't get wastelanded, but I've also made it so that I can't necessarily play something like a Thought-Knot Seer that I rip off the top of my library. Please, Punishing Fire. Punishing Fire would be so sick. Alright. So let's play a Petal. We don't care about this Petal. So if it gets pierced or something, no big deal. If I want to play Reality Smasher around Daze next turn, I need to use this land this turn so I don't just lose a City of Traders. Playing City of Traders means I could play Chalice around Pierce, though, which is relevant. I'm going to not play around Pierce, though. I am going to need to, like, live in fear of Wasteland this game. Because we are just very potentially going to just get Delvered. We need to draw a removal spell or something that can meaningfully impact the board. The blind flip there is real savage. Or sorry, that was in between. So it was not a blind flip they fetched away. Oh, Lotus Petal. Isn't that great? Good job, Lotus Petal. That is correct. They're not going to be able to spell pierce my Reality Smasher. Got him. Note that I could just, like, rip another Reality Smasher off the top of the deck and be just, like, A-okay, totally fine. Absolutely in this game. Oh, Lightning Bolt. That's inconvenient. I would like a spell, please. We kept a mana heavy hand, and then drew 3 mana sources. That's not what we're looking for. So 3, 6, 9, we are dead on board to what they have. All right, it was like we weren't winning this game. We weren't winning this game. It was not happening. Yeah, Death and Taxes will be back to a tier 1 deck to the surprise of no one with Wrenn and 6 gone. Will it be the best thing yet? No. Like, we're going to have to see how the metagame, fares in order to, like, actually make any sort of decision about that. But it will be good. I will be playing 4X Mirren Crusaders in D&T for the next week or so whenever I play it. I think there's going to be a lot of people testing various, like, Bug and Grixis lists, and I think Mirren Crusader is going to be, like, an absolutely beautiful spell for the next week or so. Then I think people will kind of start to see what's going on, and after that I expect Miracles will probably get good again. But I think people are going to start testing Bug Delver, Grixis Delver, and like a Bug Oko control deck of some nature. And Kafegret, thank you very much for your support. No, I don't think you end up going Devout Lightcaster deep. I think you run a reasonable deck list with 4 Mirren Crusaders. That's reasonable. It counts. All right. Do I take the mulligan to 5 that can play turn 2 Thought-Knot? Well, really mulligan to 4 that can play turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer into turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer? Yes, I'll keep this. I accept that this loses to a lot of things, but Thought-Knot Seer is a really stupid Magic card. Chalice on 0? Yeah, okay. Like the way you think, friend. Like the way you think. We are going to be playing against Steel Stompy. Well, our Chalice of the Voids also are not going to be very good. So note, opponent made an obvious misplay by countering one of their own spells. So they should have played Ravager, use Ravager to eat the first Chalice, and then cast the second Chalice. Yes, my opponent is preventing me from chalicing on 0. It is mighty inconvenient. Ooh, wow, their hand is very good. But they don't have more land. So I think I'm actually going to take their only castable spell. What do you mean they can't beat a Chalice on 2? They have the 3-drop, a 3-drop, a 4-drop, and a mystery drop in their hand. Yeah, we're going to take the only spell that they can currently cast. Hangerback also synergizes very, very well with Arcbound Ravager. Nice. Nice. So, while I can, I should just kill this Arcbound Ravager. So my opponent can sacrifice the Chalice of the Void to this to grow it to a 2/2, but that's it. So note that if my opponent had eaten their Chalice and played optimally on turn 1, this line would not be available to me, and I would just destroy a Chalice on 0 for my efforts. All right, my opponent scoops in frustration. I think that game was not over. All right. 2, 4, 5 artifact destruction cards. Alright, Blood Sun obviously not going to be at its best against my opponent's deck, and neither is Chalice of the Void. A Chalice of the Void on 2 will be powerful. A Chalice of the Void on 0 can technically do things. But if we put a Chalice of the Void on 2, it shuts off our Punishing Fire engine, which is probably not where we want to be. It's possible that Blood Sun is even better than Chalice of the Void. I don't think so. Yeah, my opponent is playing an interesting version with the Foundry, Foundry Inspectors. That's something you have seen more in Vintage than in Legacy, to be honest. I think I'm going to submit like this. Blood Sun versus Chalice of the Void is kind of a wash. Blood Sun redrawing might actually be better than Chalice of the Void when I'm on the draw. Yeah, on the draw, maybe let's junk the Chalices, and I'll play Blood Sun. On the play, I can think about Chalice, because on the play, Chalice on 0 is a meaningful hand. Or sorry, is a meaningful play. Turn 1 Null Rod into almost turn 2 Reality Smasher. Talk about an awkward hand. If this Lotus Petal was a Spirit Guide, this is the nuts. That being said, can I actually throw back a hand that has my 1 of Null Rod in it, given how powerful it is in the matchup? I think this is a mulligan. But I'm going to think about it. So what are the draws that make this hand good? Thought-Knot Seer is pretty respectable. Ancient Tomb is quite good. Blood Sun is quite good. I don't know that that's enough. I just think I'm very likely to just die to myself keeping this hand. But if I don't die to myself, I almost certainly win the game. But that's a weird spot to be in. I think I'm going to ship this one. What's that, Phil? You want a Null Rod hand, but better? Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. No, we have 1 Null Rod. We drew it 2 hands in a row. We take those. My opponent has a Once Upon a Time. That card's good. Omnibian, thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying the content. I certainly am. Haven't seen Steel Stompy in a hot minute. You know, again, largely due to the presence of Wrenn and 6. Wrenn and 6 made it so all the non-basic lands in that deck were rough in the first place. A Steel Overseer resolves Mr. or Miss or something in between Bedell. We're just going to look for any sort of land with Once Upon a Time here. Ancient Tomb is fantastic. We will take that. I will take damage off the... well, no. I should just Lotus Petal and Eldrazi Temple this turn because the Null Rod is going to shut off the Lotus Petal. I could consider Blood Sunning first, but I don't want this thing to do literally anything. Or, you know, it does nothing! Nothing! And now we'll hopefully just curve Thought-Knots here into Reality Smasher and win this game. Do I tell him I just have one Null Rod? I don't think I tell him that. That seems rude. Definitely don't tell him that I drew it twice in a row. But it doesn't do anything. No, it does nothing. Yeah, absolute top tier flavor text. Our opponent has a Thought-Knots here. Cool, we have one of those too. The difference is, I get to cast mine this turn. I'm having fun. I am having a lot of fun. Alright, yeah, opponent's done with me. This deck's sweet. I do think Once Upon a Time is a card that deserves more legacy play than it's seeing, and we might start to see that now. So for example, in the Legacy Premier League, I played a version of the deck that had 2 Once Upon a Times. And then I immediately upgraded to a version that had 4 Once Upon a Times because the card was absolutely absurd. I'm going to start exploring various Once Upon a Time shells, I think. I would like to try the card out in Maverick. I think it's quite good there. Yeah, I wasn't 100% on the card either, and then I tried it, and giving Chalice decks selection is silly. Hard to say because, like, 4-color Loam didn't have Loams in it anymore. It was just a Wrenn and 6 deck. Yeah, I'll keep this hand. We're going to make a Rabble Master on turn 1 and just, like, try to aggro our opponent out. Of note, don't autopilot your turns when you're playing with Once Upon a Time. Actually think about your sequencing. Because there's some times where you're just like, oh, I can just play a Lotus Petal out this turn. It's not doing anything. And like then you leave one of these stranded in your hand for a little while. Another thing is sometimes you can afford not to cast a spell to just make the Once Upon a Time free a little bit later in the game. Current plan is just cast Once Upon a Time, probably just find another threat, and then play Petal into Ancient Tomb. Okay, Carplusion Forest is a red source. We have one of those already. Eldrazi Temple would be the 4th or 5th mana for Thought-Knot Seer or Reality Smasher, so we're going to take that over the Forest. And we're just going to try to get to work. If our opponent doesn't do anything, I will probably just jam a Bone Crusher Giant on my turn. Loam? Yeah, feels like Loam. So I could try to like get some extra value out of this by like saving it to like shock something, but since I have this Punishing Fire in hand, I don't really want to do that. Note that in the most technical sense, I should attack for my 1 point of damage and then do this, but, you know, the F6 value is real. Oh, okay. So we potentially have the wrong read on the opponent here. So it looks like we're actually looking at a depths deck. I'm going to give them the opportunity to trade Bob for a Goblin token. See if they take it. And then I think we're going to play Sinkhole. The Sinkhole is slightly awkward here, because I really want to cast it off of Lotus Petal so that I can return it later on in their turn via Grove of the Burn Willows. But if I do that, it's going to let them know that they need to wasteland it. Well, I guess they're going to know that anyway. I believe it's Sunnyside Up depths. Okay, so my opponent has removed their wasteland, which I'm actually pretty happy about. An Urborg, I'm actually pretty happy about that, too. So that means that I can just return my Punishing Fire via Grove. That's less good for me. I don't know that I have game 1 outs to that. Do I? No, I don't have game 1 outs to that. But we're not going to let them know that. We're going to take our draw step and then concede. Let them think about bridge. So if you're wondering what the clip wings were for, this is a great example of what they are for. It is a 2-mana answer to Merit Lodge. This is also a matchup where I might just board in Fiery Confluence, just as something to point at their face and kill them. It can also be pretty relevant to just sweep the board of all the shenanigans that they have going on. Yeah, credit goes to Max Dorshin for that one. I did not think of Clip Wings. That one was his idea. Sort of quip, I feel you. Never getting to play paper Ren and 6s, that's rough. Chalice is kind of medium against depths. Like, it's fine. But I'm really just kind of looking to run them over. A Chalice on 1 does some things. A Chalice on 0 does something, but I'm not even sure that I want to play this. Like, on the play, I will probably, like, play Chalice and be okay with it. But on the draw, I can definitely see myself just, like, boarding out Chalice and just trying to be aggressive. Actually, I'm looking for threat density. I'm trying to end the game as quickly as possible since our deck doesn't line up super well versus what my opponent is doing. And that may just mean I want to not cut any threats. I'm going to board out the chalices both on the play and draw. Alright, turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer into turn 3 Reality Smasher. We will keep this. Again, we're noticing some of the stumbling over our own mana here. That's okay. No, we have not put a Goyf in play yet. But again, our sample size is relatively small. The Goyfs should get big very quickly. Like my opponent will do a good job of fueling the graveyard. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Goyf would be a 3/4, you know, as soon as next turn. All right, so that Thought Seize probably takes the Thought-Knot Seer. And makes my hand considerably worse. The green for Once Upon a Time has been good. Once Upon a Time has been very powerful. That, I think, is quite clear. All right, so there's an Elvish Reclaimer. Nice. Nice. Ugh. All right. So opponent has access to both sides of the combo currently. So on their turn, they can just play Dark Depths, rotate into stage. So I potentially just want to take the Abrupt Decay so that if I draw a red source, I can Blood Sun. Can't take the Dark Depths, obviously. All right. We'll float the extra mana, even though we don't have to. So this league so far is making me want to just play colorless Eldrazi that happens to have 4 Once Upon a Times in it, and no way to cast them. Alright, opponent saw the onboard line. GG. I critiqued someone the other day for like not having any sources to go and play a Once Upon a Time that was in their Eldrazi deck, but I can totally see that now after like playing this. Yeah, there might have been Elvish Spirit Guides in there, but like there wasn't anything like, you know, a basic forest or like a brushland or something like that that might have like gone to help and cast them. Yeah, Cherryman, I think that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I think it was Orum's list. I was initially like, hey, don't you want to just go and like cast those? But like looking at how fast, like I don't even have the smaller Eldrazi stuff, but just looking at how fast, like theoretically, we're going and gold fishing with this deck, I'm pretty sure that you don't need it. Well, we are turboing through this league. Win or lose, matches have gone incredibly quickly. So we'll probably play a second league. Maybe not with this deck. I might like play some D&T or something. But like I started at right around 7, and in an hour and 13 minutes, we've done 4 rounds in a deck tech. Yeah, maybe I need to start building a D&T list on the side here. All right. So post, Renin 6, D&T. Let's label that with D&T first, though. All right, first, I believe as the children say, we yeet the giver of runes into oblivion. Those are gone. Mom gets back in. We'll finish building a deck in a minute. This is going to be a keep, and I have to decide how I'm going to play this hand. Because I can play City, Petal, and Goblin Rabblemaster on turn 1, but then I can't actually Reality Smasher on 2. So I'll probably just end up going... So I can City Chalice on 1 into Eldrazi Temple Lotus Petal on 2 to just play Chalice into Rabblemaster. It'll be awkward because I'll lose a land and it'll be harder for me to cast the Goblin Rabblemaster that's in my hand. No. Giver is garbage, and I'm so glad to be rid of that card. Get out of my deck. I mean, we came here to turn 1 Chalice. Let's do that. Force, pitch, brainstorm. Yes, that's fine. We'll get a lot of information about what land this is. It's a basic island. Forest, Brainstorm, and Flooded Strand makes me think that this is most likely going to go and be something like Miracles. Current plan is to just play Reality Smasher. Could be convinced to just Goblin Rabblemaster, depending on what our draw is, though. Oh, Thought-Knot's here. Ah! So if I Reality Smasher this turn, I can't cast any of the other spells that are in my hand on a follow-up turn. I could just play Lotus Petal into Rabblemaster this turn, and then follow up with Thought-Knot Seer or Reality Smasher on a future turn. Specifically, it would be Reality Smasher. I am very good at drawing Thought-Knot Seer. That's why I play Chalice decks so frequently. I think I want to respect my mana sources for as long as possible, so I think I want to get 2 uses out of this City of Traders. The only way to do that is by casting either Rabblemaster or Goyf this turn. And I think I'm going to choose Rabblemaster. Would not mind like a Petal or a Spirit Guide off the top to like Reality Smasher as well. Well, that's super awkward right now. I think I'm going to go ahead and attack first and then Thought-Knot Seer post-combat. I don't want to give my opponent the option of which one of these creatures they're going to destroy. Assuming they have something like a Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, I kind of just want to like play some straight up Eldrazi's with Once Upon a Time. Tentacle monsters seem good right now. No, they went top bottom, so there's not a Terminus on top of their library right now. At least not one that they know about. Ah, surprise! It was your old friend Sneak and Show all along. We will. So they don't know about their remaining card. I need to take either Sneak Attack or Emrakul here. I have lethal on board. So I guess we'll take the Emrakul, and then they can't beat me with the top deck Show and Tell. Yeah, they are the bigger of the spaghetti decks. And you maybe didn't expect to hear this at the beginning of the stream, but once again, Clipped Wings looking like a great sideboard card. So we're going to be thinking about Clipped Wings, Choke, Thorn of Amethyst here. I think these are the cards that I'm going to be thinking about. We don't have anything like Ensnaring Bridge, which is unfortunate. First thing we'll do is take these Punishing Fires out of our deck. They're going to be very, very, very bad. We're not going to probably see anything that it can kill from the other side of the table. Blood Sun and Bone Crusher Giant are going to similarly be weak. I think Blood Sun is worse. I don't foresee myself wanting to spend tempo playing this card. So I think we're going to keep this in the deck as a 4/3 that can also shock my opponent's face if need be. And I would consider removing the last Blood Sun as well. The thing is that if I remove that, I'm really just bringing in something like Fiery Confluence as a 6 damage to the face that's hard to cast, or Force of Vigor, and I'm going to Force of Vigor your Omniscience after you put it in play because I'm somehow not immediately dead. That sort of scenario is probably few and far between as well. But Fiery Confluence is going to be real hard to cast if A, double red is something that's acquired slowly, and B, I'm also playing Thorns. So I'm not sure on this last slot. I'm going to play the Force of Vigor, I guess. But I don't expect it to be good. Turn 1 Chalice. Yep, Note that Chalice is only medium versus Show and Tell. It is a good card, but seeing as their win conditions are not actually shut off by Chalice of the Void, it often does not do as much as you would like. Yeah, I think Force of Vigor and Fire... Ooh, my opponent's on a Lotus Petal build. They're going to go fast. I mean, happy to see that as a draw. I'm actually just, like, super pleased to have this in hand, because if my opponent just, like, jams a Show and Tell or something, we can potentially mise them off of this trigger. Alright, so this is not a soul land for this card, so we'll just be passing and holding up Clipped Wings. Man, if we get a creature with Clipped Wings, I will be so happy. If we get a creature and it's something stupid like Emrakul, that's so disgusting. Oh, baby. Oh, baby, here we go. Yeah. Yeah. So, it's awkward that the Grizzlebrand can draw cards to defend against this. Motherfucker. Ah! Double Force of Will? That's so tilting. Okay, okay. Need to think. How am I beating this Grizzlebrand if they can back it up with double Force of Will? Versus, can I beat this Grizzlebrand if they Echoing Truth? So I think I need to take a Force of Will and hope to get them to use the second Force of Will. Another Thought Knot off the top would be real cool. Bone Crusher Giant. It's only 2 damage, right? We might be able to wiggle out of this. So I was thinking about just using Bone Crusher Giant to try to go to their dome, but I think I'm going to play it out as a threat instead. Maybe in some world this gets a Force of Will just because they're greedy. And then I'll actually get to Clip Wings this Grizzlebrand and kill them. Alright. My opponent is a hyper-fast version of Show and Tell. That did not cause them to pitch their Force of Will, and they still countered it. Oof. Is this good enough to get countered? I hope it is. Alright. Opponent's Dazes doing work here. Allowing them to protect their force of will, which I don't think they know necessarily that they're doing that. But hopefully I play this like Chalice and it gets forced. Yeah, they only have 13 cards. Maybe there's no blue cards left. Yeah, brutal, savage, wrecked, destroyed, every other synonym for that. We were real close to getting that one. I think we could have beaten single force of will, but not double force of will there. I think we're just going to run this as is. I would consider junking Force of Vigor for something else. But like I guess it can also hit a sneak attack that they just like randomly play out. And so like maybe I'm supposed to do something like this. I don't think we're super gonna miss Bone Crusher Giant. So I can turn 1 Chalice into turn 2 Goblin Rabblemaster. I think that's fine. We'll keep this. So our record may be medium, but like this is the Wild West of Legacy again, where everything is viable and people get to try out fun decks again. So I'm so on board with that. If our draws are any indication, we'll draw Thought-Knot Seer this turn. No? All right. All right, we didn't just get dazed this time. I guess the next step is to just see if we can beat just like Soul Land into Show and Tell or something like that. And the answer is probably not. But if my opponent's just fetching to thin there, I don't hate that. Thought-Knot Seer, you're 1 turn late. Still happy to see you. Ben XDC, I want you to take a look at the deck list on Cardboard Live, and then you tell me. So in case it's not, like, immediately obvious, we're already playing Ancient Tomb, right? We can only afford so much self-damage. So I can effectively do 1 damage with this Bone Crusher Giant this turn, which I guess is worth doing. It's like technically value. It just doesn't feel good. Speaking of not feeling good, having to lose that City of Traders for this is rough. But come on, Clipwings. Oh man, they have both? I'm gonna see if we can take out one of these big baddies, because I'll feel better about my life. But my opponent has, like, Daze and Force to draw towards. Yeah, alright. Alright. So that was a very quick 2-3 to that league. So that was not good. I think the deck is totally fine. But the strongest part of the deck was definitely this side of the equation, and that may just be an indication that we should just be playing like Once Upon a Time Eldrazi if we want to be going and doing this stuff. So let's build a D&T deck list. Extra Caracas you can get out. I think I'll just play 2 of those for right now. Play 24 lands. Some of these are probably going. We want 4 of those. We probably want 2 of those. Where does that leave us with flex slots? That leaves us at 60. That'll probably be our starting point. Then sideboard. Yeah, GG's. My hand got clunked up a little bit. You had double Force of Will in game 2 there, and I could only beat single Force of Will. I had a clipped Wings. So if I could have taken single Force of Will in response to you draw 7, I could have clipped Wings, the Grizzlebrand, and gotten there. Didn't expect to be saying that clipped Wings was going to be like one of my all-star sideboard cards. Oh shoot, this only has 3 Flicker Wisps? Ooh. No, we want 4 of those. Probably can go to the sideboard. Get in here, Flicker Wisp. Probably won't end up playing that. May end up playing 2 of those rather than 3 of those. No, I might need 3 since I'm going to be a little softer to combo than I might like in game 1. And actually, I'm going to want a couple of cards for the mirror that I don't normally want. Let's get a sword in here. Do I want Sword of Truth and Justice or Sword of War and Peace? Protection from blue seems like it's going to be very good right now. So I probably want Sword of Truth and Justice. And then maybe a Pithing Needle to round things out. Alright, let's go to my good friend Card Order and pick up a Sword of Truth and Justice. So Depths, Sneak and Show, I think Delver twice, and Steel Stompy. We went 2-3. Learned plenty. Clipped Wings, great sideboard card. Once Upon a Time with Eldrazi seems absolutely degenerate, so pretty happy about that as well. But basically all of our red cards didn't really do much that stream. Again, I posted this on Twitter earlier today, but I cannot say enough good things about Card Order services. Like, the ability to just, like, borrow all of this stuff on a whim via, my loan account is so helpful to me as a streamer. Wait. All right, let's export that. And let me update Cardboard Live, and then we'll jump into things. All right, there we go. Let's battle. So note, this is something that I just like literally whipped up in less than a minute. I didn't put a lot of thought into this deck list, but I think that's fine as a starting point. I think you want to be playing something with a lot of Crusaders. I think you want something that has at least a couple of cards for the mirror. And I think you want a couple of things that are going to be good against control decks. Well, I really hope that I threw one Prelate in the sideboard. I thought I did that. No, I threw one Prelate in the sideboard. Yeah, so I usually stream twice a week, Mondays at about 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and Saturday mornings at maybe 9 or 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And then as I have time, I do additional streams. Trashing the Givers is a good enough first draft. Yeah, get out of the deck. I'm going to refresh my page here. I don't see my Cardboard Live extension. Oh, there we are. Wonderful. I love that little extension so much. Totally changed the face of Magic. Hey, remember where I said we were going to play some things that hedged for the mirror? Now it feels smart. Yeah, sure. Yeah, what a sweet hand of playable cards. Oh my gosh, is that an Umezawa's Jitte? It is an Umezawa's Jitte. Is that a creature that's going to get bounced by a Caracas next turn while I make a disgusting tempo play? Yes. Yes, it is. Actually, now I might just play basic planes. We'll see what my opponent does. I have chosen to just play out a Vial. How sick would Ancient Tomb be? I guess not. There's still Thalia attacks. So the Thalia potentially represents a problem next turn due to first strike. So we're just going to go and get a Batterskull here, produce a flyer, make it so that they have something that can't... make it so that I have a creature that just can't be blocked by what they have going on there. Yeah, this D&T mirror is probably going to take almost as long as, like, my other 5 rounds combined of the previous league. Yeah, no blocks. Okay, so my opponent can revoke Jete this turn. Alright, they have chosen to just revoke Stoneforge Mystic. That is fine with me. It keeps me from getting the Batterskull in play, but it means that I can connect with Jete as of next turn. The other thing I can do is just kill their Revoker and put in Batterskull this turn, followed by Jete next turn. Which I also don't hate. The kind of awkward thing is, what if they have a Mother of Runes in hand? The Mother of Runes isn't really a problem because I have my own Mother of Runes. Okay. I've decided. You really need to take your time in these D&T mirrors. Otherwise, you can miss something. So, for example, if you thought, hey, I'm just going to pay 2 mana to do this, then you didn't consider that we can just, like, Caracas bounce this Thalia and remove both of my opponent's creatures in a single go. It's only temporary to due to Ether Vial, but it's pretty big game. We're going to go ahead and remove this here. And if my opponent taps a Violet 2, then I'll respond with a Stoneforge activation. That is obviously in fear of another Revoker. Double Wasteland from my opponent. Yeah, that's fine. Expected to lose that. That's also fine. That's slightly more annoying, but, like, I obviously accept it. Need to put the threat in play there. Note, that is a terrible play from my opponent. Well, maybe not. I take it back. It's fine. Like, it prevents me from, like, slamming land Jete. I guess it's fine. I was thinking that you want to be bluffing something like a Revoker that you can hold up to, like, force me to use my mana to use that, and maybe, like, play the mind game of, like, oh, I can't cast that because they've obviously got the answer to it because they didn't put it in Nathalia. But I sort of might be, like, next leveling myself there with that thought process. Alright, gonna take a non-obvious line this turn. We're gonna be playing my Mother of Runes, followed by Flicker Wisping their Vial. One of the easiest ways for me to lose my overwhelming board position is by my opponent vialing in a Flicker Wisp. As of right now, we have 3, 4, 5 mana to pay for Jitte and equip next turn, so we just want to prevent my opponent from neutering that line. So Karakas plus Thalia Bounce does represent a way to wall the Batterskull here in a couple of turns. Yep. All right, so you notice my opponent concedes the game here. With me having Mom, 2 pieces of equipment, and a flyer active, they're in too much of a tight pinch. I can totally understand not wanting to play out from there. So we are going to want Council's Judgment, the Pithing Needle, the Sword of Truth and Justice, and we can consider Path to Exile, but we may or may not play that. Dinner time, GG's. GG's, friend. I expect that means that we're going to get a concession here, but I'm going to talk through the rest of sideboarding in case my opponent isn't actually conceding. So we're going to junk our Thalias for these 4. That's easy, and then we're going to take a quick survey to see if there's anything else we want to do. No, we'd leave the Path to Exiles in the sideboard. This is the real First League. Yeah, this is the First League where I go like, hey, I'm back on my BS again. Let's go and like ruin some people with all my favorite cards. Oh, no, it is true. Chalice is in the sideboard. And boy, do I love Chalice. Oh man, meal prepping is great. I love meal prepping. I used to do it a ton when I was just like only cooking for myself, and I would go and like make a week's worth of stuff, freeze some of it. I enjoyed that a lot. Now that I'm usually cooking for me and my girlfriend, between 2 people, we can eat most of the stuff that I make within 2 days. So it's not a lot of like, I've made all my meals for the week anymore. This hand is amazing if this vial resolves, and very actively bad if it doesn't. It's not like we're on like 1 land vial sorts of bads, but this isn't great. Oh, I should also message the D&T Discord, tell them that I'm streaming currently. All right, Force of Negation, pitching a Daze. My hand looks pretty bad now. Into Noble Hierarch. Okay, can't even wasteland my opponent's land there. BTW, streaming taxes now as a second league. Alright, and I'm back. So we're probably playing against some sort of Bant Stoneblade deck. Since my opponent fetched basic Forest, I really just want to slam this Revoker on Noble Hierarch, shut that off, and try to keep them from casting something like a True Name or an Oko next turn. I guess they also could be Infect, right? I mean, I will accept this trade. I think that favors me. If this is in fact taking this exalted creature off the board, potentially protects my life total quite a bit later. This is just 1 point of damage though, but I think this card is as valuable as my Revoker is. I can play Jitte around Daze, but I can't play it around Spell Pierce. I think I'm okay with that. Oh, hey Antonio, welcome. I am expecting Bug Delver, Grixis Delver, and some sort of Bug Oko deck to be popular. That's sort of control-ish. I expect about a week down the line, people will start messing around with miracles again, and I expect D&T to come back in force as well. This land will give me a lot of information. Okay, yeah. So my original thought that this was a Bant deck was correct. So I expect that'll just like bounce the Mother of Runes, give them a little bit of tempo, and we'll play Recruiter and Mom this turn. Oh, no. Recruiter first, we'll play Recruiter around Daze. I think this is a difficult Recruiter. I think my board is very strong right now. I would like to play Jitte next turn plus another card. To guarantee that I can play a card, I should probably take a 2-drop, which can be either Revoker or Thalia. My opponent hasn't, like, cantripped much or anything. So Thalia might be medium. It's possible I'm supposed to just take Revoker. But I could also see getting a Stoneforge to get Sword of Fire and Ice. I'll take Thalia. So I think your best gets off of Recruiter there were Revoker, Thalia, or Stoneforge. The red-green Eldrazi deck was very fun. Results were medium. We went 2-3. The shell shows promise, but it was actually the Thought-Knot-Seers and Reality Smashers that were just, like, far and above the best parts of the deck, as well as Once Upon a Time. So if I was going to play another league with Eldrazi, I'd just play Colorless Eldrazi featuring Once Upon a Time. Probably no way to cast it other than Spirit Guides either. Like, that card's really good in your opening hand. Okay, the Mom is out of the way. Do you have additional follow-up? Bant Delver featuring Teferi. Okay. So I have 5 mana. I can do everything that I want this turn. We're going to start with a Swords of Plowshares on the Delver. We don't want to trade Delver for this body. Then we'll play out Thalia. Then we'll get some Jitte counters. And we'll tick down that Teferi a notch. Teferi's loyalty may be very relevant if our opponent has something like a True Name Nemesis that does wall my current board. Yep. And then I'll have to decide how much do I want to take that thing off the table. So I can pump Recruiter, pump Thalia, attack Teferi with both, get that off the table, and then I can put a Jitte on Mirren Crusader after that. Teferi does not do a ton right now. So it's possible that I could wait. I just don't know how valuable my Thalia actually is right now. It has value. This is weird because my opponent is this weird mixture of like Delver and like Stoneblade / mid-range. So I don't necessarily know what could be coming. Like there might be Stoneforge Mystic in here as well. That would not surprise me. I think I'm going to take this off the table. I should have technically cast my Mirren Crusader first. To play around a Daze. Because then I just wouldn't have made this line if my opponent had Daze. It didn't come up, but, you know, make good lines. So Mirren Crusader doesn't get elked, which is the whole reason why I'm playing 4 of them right now. Alright, my opponent is just creating a food token. That's fine. Your opponent. Did you see what you just did? Did you see what you just did? You just let me kill your Delver for free. You could have elked the Jitte, then had, like, a sweet, sweet Delver. But that's not where we're at currently. Like, we take those. So I'll be looking to draw, like, a Stoneforge for Sword of Fire and Ice would be sick. Eh. That's inconvenient for me. It's rough. So note that Oko is still going to just, like, completely invalidate cards. That aspect hasn't changed. That card's still obnoxious. So you're saying that I didn't have to use the 2 mana to go and move the Jitte over to the Thalia. I just could have like attacked it and let it die, or let Recruiter go and get Jitte counters. I see. Yeah, True Name plus Jitte on the other side of the battlefield means that my Mirran Crusader is dead this turn. Alright. So, with the Recruiter like 5-ish turns ago, I chose to go and get Thalia because it would be very good against the cantrip side of the hand, but bad against the True Name and equipment side of the hand, and that's what we saw happen here. So I potentially lost that game when I fetched Thalia rather than Stoneforge. Alright. So I want Needle. I want Sword of Truth and Justice. I'll probably play Chalice of the Void, Council's Judgment, Sanctum Prelate, and can consider Cataclysm, but probably won't end up boarding it. Normally against Stoneblade, I cut all my swords to Plowshares. This is sort of a Delver Blade deck, though, so that's a little different. I'm probably not going to want this. So if I'm boarding out all of my swords to Plowshares, the Chalices are a slam dunk. Otherwise, it's harder. There's definite tension in how I'm going to sideboard. I'm going to have to like choose which parts of the deck I want to try and attack. Chalice is bad against Oko, so I think I'm going to lean towards not playing that. I'm going to trim some swords to Plowshares, but maybe not cut them completely. I want to have access to the ability to remove creatures, but I maybe don't need, like, all 4. And then I think I'm just going to, like, trim 2 cards. I think you can trim, like, a Mom, a Thalia, a land pretty safely. No. Yes. This is a hand where you have to make a choice between keeping Vial 2 and keeping the Caracas. Vial 2 will be better against Force of Negation or Force of Will. Caracas will be better if my initial Vial resolves. My opponent has mulliganed once, so I'm going to hope that my initial Vial resolves and pitch the second Vial. I'm really going to want to hardcast Recruiter on turn 3 and tap it to probably put in something like a Thalia or Stoneforge Mystic. And if my opponent does end up forcing here, I might be able to fight an attrition fight relatively well. I don't necessarily like decks like my opponent's deck. I like to play decks that are doing, like, the best of something. And I never feel like those sorts of decks are doing the best at anything. You're kind of like trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none, which I often feel like is not good. Yeah, missing on a relevant turn 2 play definitely sucks when my opponent just like fishes up Stoneforge and Jitte this early. Like, we're fine for now, but it represents problems. That helps a lot. I'm going to Wasteland this Caracas next turn. I don't think I can afford to snap it off right now. I kind of think I need to Recruiter for my own Stoneforge Mystic and then figure out what I'm going to do with it from there. I can also Recruiter for a Phyrexian Revoker and just, like, go that route to protect Jitte. Alright, never mind. We don't need to think about it. Yeah, like, Oko turning my Vial into an Elk is an absolute disaster. Similarly, True Name into Jitte here is also very bad. Sure, that's fine. Probably should have activated Stoneforge in response. But, you know, I don't have it. Straight out of GP Louisville. What was that, 2017? I'm going to wait until I see what they do with the Stoneforge Mystic to make my Wasteland decision. I assume this is just Jitte. It is just Jitte. So I can take out the Tropical Island to make it so that they need to use Noble Hierarch for mana. I have 4 Thalias in the deck that I care about Caracas for, but I don't have any of them right now. I think I'm going to take the dual land and decrease the flexibility and leave them with the ability to bounce something with Caracas. This will obviously somehow bite me in the butt later, but we're going to make that line. Why do they always have it? Why do they always have it? We can play around this for 1 turn with a Flicker Wisp, but like this also invalidates the Mirror Crusader attack this turn, which is a little inconvenient. No, we're not hard casting one of these Flicker Wisps. We need to use both off of the vials to keep this Jitte out of play for as long as possible. Alright. Give me that sweet, sweet elk action. Debating whether or not I want to protect this vial. Yeah, I'm trying to think about what else I can do. Like, do I just want this to be an elk so that it can pressure things? Because my new line will be Flicker Wisp my Flicker Wisp to Flicker Wisp Jitte. So they're not going to have something like Ancient Tomb, so they can't connect with Jitte this turn. I can just bump Oko's loyalty down by 1. And then attack it for 3 in the air, putting it at 1. I think that's fine. Nice. I keep my counters. Those get to hang out. Man, I am 1 mana away from just wrecking this game. So if I top deck a land, I am so good to go. And this game is probably over. On the other hand, if my opponent has a Force of Will here, good God, I'm so screwed. One of my Flicker Wisps probably gets elked here. We'll see. There's other worlds. That is a nuisance, but I accept. Well, we should be killing the Oko this turn. I mean, the hope is that we draw a land, put sort of Truth and Justice on Mirren Crusader, kill Oko, do a billion to their face, win target game. But we don't get to cash in our one-time dealer, unfortunately. Which means that my opponent is going to get Jitte active, which super sucks for me. So that attacks Oko. That attacks them. This does mean that the Sword of Truth and Justice is going to get to stick around. So that's cool. I'm not sure if I want to, like, play that out, or if I just want to, like, Stoneforge for my Batterskull, or Stoneforge for my other sword. I guess if I just play out the sword, it lets my opponent know that they have to leave back this elk. They would leave back that elk anyway, though. So the other thing is that my opponent has their own Batterskull coming. And that's its own set of problems. So I'm trying to set up a trap here. I'm going to play my own Umezawa's Jitte, so that I can keep this Stoneforge alive and potentially surprise my opponent with Sword of Truth and Justice. If I put Sword of Truth and Justice on my Aether Vial will be a 5/5. My Aether Vial can be chump blocked by Noble Hierarch or Stoneforge Mystic. It can trade with Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic is no longer white, it is green. Alternatively, I can equip my Aether Vial with Jitte. I can equip my Aether Vial with Jitte. I can attack in. They might like block with a Noble Hierarch, use a Jitte counter, so I don't get Jitte counters. And then I try to surprise them with Stoneforge Mystic while also wastelanding them. So we'll attack with this, attack with this, attack with this, and I need to think about Mirror Crusader. If I attack with Mirror Crusader and my opponent blocks with Stoneforge Mystic, and then shrinks it, how much do I care about that? Quite a bit. Because they could kill my Mirror Crusader and Flicker Wisp. Yeah, with the -1 mode. I'll make them figure it out. I've also used up way more. Oh, motherfucker. Swords to Plowshares? Oh, that is devastating. I mean, I'm glad that they took that out instead of my Crusader, if I'm just, like, being totally honest here. Hey, thank you very much for the raid. You're coming in on a very interesting match that I'm on the wrong side of, unfortunately. I don't like that attack. I could potentially have Batterskull here. We are playing against like a Bant Stoneblade Delver deck currently. So the goal is to end this turn with Mirren Crusader equipped with Sword of Truth and Justice. My opponent didn't re-equip, which is actually very good for me. That means I can equip both of these pieces of equipment to different creatures and get in with one of them. So how do we best do this? I think I need to equip Sword of Truth and Justice to Stoneforge Mystic and Jitte to Mirren Crusader. It's not really the way that I want to do that. But otherwise, we can just run into a situation where my opponent just like uses one Jitte counter on Stoneforge and invalidates that attack. So my first action is going to be attempt Sword of Truth and Justice equip on Stoneforge Mystic. Hey, welcome everyone who's coming in. I'd talk more, but this game is absolutely crazy intricate right now. So the other thing I can do now is actually just put the other sword here and not give them an opportunity to use the Jitte counters to remove this creature. Alright. I'm going to play this and leave up my Caracas on the off chance that that matters. And we're going to crash in with this too, I think. Yeah, opponent could have Batterskull. I in fact think they do have Batterskull. But that's okay. Okay. You're just going to ping your own Noble Hierarch here? No, you're just going to put in a Batterskull. And then ping your Noble Hierarch? Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Did I leave myself dead on board? 4, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13. Fuck, I did leave myself dead on board by attacking with the Mirren Crusader. I didn't plan for that. Okay. Good games. Well played, opponent. A lot of different ways to play that last turn here. So if I put it on two, like if I just go and equip one of the other ones to Mirren Crusader, So maybe my best line was equip Mirren Crusader to Mirren Crusader. Sorry, equip Sword of Truth and Justice to Mirren Crusader. Hope that they don't respond to that, and then do the same line, but it just ends up so much better. Leaves me with a chump blocker back. Or alternatively, if I didn't attack with the Crusader, it would have been fine as well. We're going to have sort of a stinker of a 6-card hand. It's got Vials, so, like, that's fine. We're going to be leaning on Vial and Port this game against my opponent and throwing back this Batterskull and hope that this gets there. Yeah, and that's why I took the other line, hoping that it would get us somewhere. Alright. C into Preordain makes me think Storm, so I might just snap off this Wasteland on turn 1. I will do that. Fine with taking the parity here. Oh, baby. Oh, baby, those top decks, though. Nice. GG? Feels like GG. We're just making maximum mana efficiency plays right now, since we expect that this game is over. We just want to make it so that we can do things with our mana next turn and continue to tick our Vial up. Crusader plus some Jitte counters will mean that the game ends pretty much instantly. Now we'll just port them rather than play out the Jitte. Like, let's press our mana denial advantage. We have 2 turns worth of Crusaders to muck with what they're doing. Oh yeah, we're bullying here. And it's good that we get game 1. Four, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll do no attack this turn and just kill them next turn anyway. Hey, opponent has played 2 spells. They're doing fine. All right, so we'll play Chalice. I cut the 3rd one, unfortunately. We'll play Surgical. We'll play Rest in Peace. We'll board Prelate in. We'll board Palace Jailer out. Swords to Plowshares out, and then we'll make 2 other trims. Oh, did they get a 3rd spell? I thought it was LED Preordain. We can consider Needle on Delta as well. It's a very medium line. I was more inclined to do that before I was playing Chalices. I'm less inclined to do that now. Which flex slots was I cutting versus Ant before? Wisp and Tomic and Jitte before. Still like cutting that. Still like cutting that. Don't have a Tomic to cut. I think we'll do this. When I'm on the play, I might play the Needle. Needle in Past in Flames, then say nothing. I've won a lot of games like that in Paper Magic. I kid you not. I've successfully revokered LED at least 3 times in paper tournaments. At, like, the FNM level. But, like, scoreboard. I'm also thinking that Sword of Truth and Justice might be better than Batterskull. Just, like, having another pro-blue thing that I can naturally draw to protect from Echoing Truth is not irrelevant. But I'm going to keep the Batter's Skull. Every once in a while, like, Stoneforge is your pressure. We have a hand that I probably expect to lose with, but I will keep anyway. If you mulligan to beat discard, you kind of end up in a weird spot. So, like, I expect to get Thought Seized and lose this Thalia, and then the rest of my hand is medium. I've kept this hoping that my opponent fetches a non-basic, and I can try to, like, buy time to redraw into a hate card with Wasteland. That is not a hate card. So we'll hope that that was very punishing for my opponent. I assume they have more land since they did fetch Underground Sea, but we'll see. Plains is the most powerful hate card. It's so hateful that it even turns on Massacre. Very hateful. All right. Some kind draw steps would be helpful. That is not what we're looking for. Mom turning sideways is not getting them out of Adnaw's range very quickly. Unfortunately, Giver of Runes also has 1 power, so that doesn't really help it out much either. So happy to be playing with Mom again, by the way. I don't feel like it's Mom getting out her belt until, like, she's got a sword. Then I'm scared. W&6 died for its own sins. It knows what it did. They know what they did. Unsure on correct tree folk terminology. Oh, dude, Abrupt Decay of Mom? I'm so in for that. Yes. Deck? I'm not asking for a lot. But how about something hateful? I'm hoping my opponent's draw is as anemic as it feels from this side of the table. But on 5 cards, they're still very able to go off. They have Threshold for Cabal Ritual, so it's not going to take a lot. You know, just Cabal Ritual into Adnaw's is probably good enough for a win. So it feels like my opponent is going to go for a Past in Flames line. This is not representing lethal yet. My opponent just going to cantrip? Yeah, they are going to, like, YOLO Brainstorm and go for it. They get a So they're going to get a Preordain followed by a Brainstorm, or alternatively, they could have Brainstorm followed by, oh god, they topped. I'm dead. Yeah, they're flashing back the rituals, so I am dead. I don't know how I'm dead yet, but I must be. Thoughtseize, joke's on you, friend. I have just planes. And now they can just Infernal Tutor for Tendrils. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so when I'm on the play, I guess I will bring in the Needle, and we can cut a Flickerwisp. Flickerwisp is really poor in this matchup. Yeah, I think they picked a good spot to do that. I think they have to fear my top decks, and taking another hit for 4 potentially turns off the ad nause line, which is very much live this turn. So like I like my opponent going for that there. I would like to play first. Man, we have another one of those hands that is probably just going to lose to a single piece of discard, but I can't discard this. I have a Recruiter that's going to let me redeploy a Thalia on turn 3, potentially. This is why Cyrus often talks about D&T being such a good matchup for Ant, because the D&T player often has to keep the hands that look like this, that have a single very powerful hate card, but don't have a meaningful follow-up. Or you mull and try to get 2 hate cards and end up in an awkward position. Our opponent didn't have discard this hand. That does bode well for me. That is also fantastic. We're going to keep the ability to vial in the Revoker and get a Stoneforge Mystic here. That will obviously get Batterskull since it's our only remaining piece of equipment. I think outside of Massacre, we're pretty darn safe this game. If I could pick the top card of my library, I would pick Land. Alright, opponent has a Massacre. I accept. If you're as good as Cyrus, then any matchup is great. So note that Massacre is not nearly as good as it looks. So I can beat an artifact-based hand right now. Do I revoke Lotus Petal in response? My opponent has not played a land yet. I think LED is what I really want to tag with this Revoker, but I might need to physically make it to the next turn, which Revoker may allow me to do. So I'm going to put it in here on Lotus Petal. I'm going to take my guaranteed value and just try to make it to the next turn. If I make it to the next turn, I do have another like guaranteed Thalia, or possibly Sanctum Prelate if I draw a land. Nice. Double nice. Okay. I'll need to decide what I'm going to do with that now. So I can Recruiter for Sanctum Prelate, put it on 4. That does stop all of my opponent's win conditions, but not the enablers for it. Alternatively, I can put it on 2, which stops the answers to my board. So wins through Prelate on 2 are possible, but this should be pretty tricky. If they have multiple massacres, they have multiple massacres. I will be salty about it, though. So we've shut off Echoing Truth, Abrupt Decay as outs. We've left Massacre and Chain of Vapor as outs. There was no shuffle there. Triple LED, Past in Flames. Are they... Okay, so they're going to flash back Past in Flames and massacre my board and then not win? So you just like massacre and pass the turn? Okay, like I'm obviously fine with this. Lemon of Pink, thank you very much for following. I hope you're enjoying the content. Do they like know the top card of their library is a Tendrils or something, and I've just been like left in the dark, and this is a guaranteed kill? That was top with that preordain. All right. All right. Well, I think after losing that one there, I think we're going to call it a night. We got a league and a half in today. Opponent played pretty aggressively with Ant there, and it worked out for them both times. I don't know how much of that stuff they knew with their cantrips ahead of time for that last one, though. So it's possible they knew they had it since they topped with the preordain. But like, kudos to them. I did not plan around triple LED Past in Flames last turn. That was not something that happened. All right, well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Folks, I hope you are enjoying Legacy now that we have Wrenn and 6 gone from the format. Seems like a lot of people are bringing cool things to the table. Seen a lot more deck variety tonight than what we're normally seeing, so super happy with that, even if our results were sort of medium. I'm going to go ahead and turn you over to Rich Shea, who is going to be playing some Legacy and Vintage. If you're new here tonight, please follow. I'm streaming Legacy 2 or 3 times a week. And if you're really enjoying this, please consider doing some donation deck lists. I would really like to see some new things on stream, and I would love to continue to play some Crazy Brews. I will hopefully see many of you on Wednesday for the Legacy Premier League on Julian's channel. Good night, folks.